increasing the amount of organic matter in soil has long been recognised by agronomists and farmers as beneficial for soil health and plant growth. Soil carbon is a major part of soil organic matter, which is known to have many benefits for productivity, climate resilience and ecosystem health. Increasing organic matter improves soil structure, increases nutrient cycling and enhances diversity of soil organisms. Appropriate management actions can increase organic carbon in agricultural soils and contribute to mitigating climate change. This is the story of Peter and Julie Ramsey, whose farm has been in the family for generations, and why increasing soil carbon has improved productivity and provided them peace of mind and a brighter future for their family to continue enjoying the rural lifestyle they cherish.
Carbon is an essential element for humanity. It's in us. It's in all food. So it's part of what we are and who we are. The carbon molecule allows for all that everything to happen in and around. Like I said, it's the skeletal structure of a human is the bone. Well, the skeletal structure of soil is carbon. The soil carbon projects are purely because the government have got this belief that we need to reduce the amount of carbon dioxide out of the air, and one of the two drivers are we either reduce the amount of carbon dioxide, and that's why all these wind farms and solar farms and electric cars are becoming a real buzz. And the other way, and the best way in the world, is for farmers to sequence carbon, take that carbon dioxide out of the air through photosynthesis, and we put carbon into the soil. And so the farmers are being offered an opportunity to do a soil carbon project. And it's such a wonderful thing because it's the first time that farmers are actually getting paid for something that won't leave the farm. So this carbon that they're actually, a product that they're producing, they actually get to keep it. So how good's that? It was actually an ad in the paper, and it just said if you can increase your ground cover, increase your diversity of your plants and your animals, and shift your animals rather than set stock, why not consider doing a soil carbon project? And that's exactly what we did. We didn't want it to dictate what we did, and when I spoke to the soil carbon people, they said, no, whatever you want to do on your farm, you do that, because it's a win-win. If you increase your soil carbon, we make money because they actually take 25% of the gross, but they take care of all the expenses, and they've done 54 soil tests, and that's 27 3 times, so year 0, year 2, year 3, and we've actually got carbon credits sitting there. And the cost of doing that soil testing would have been way more than what we would have been able to get it done for. So they do all of that at about 1/10 of the cost of what we would have had to pay. It didn't cost a lot, but it hasn't driven what we do. It was just a indicator of how we were performing. Ten years ago, Julie and I had this discussion, and I was looking out the window, and there's kangaroos hopping around everywhere, and the numbers had exploded. And at the time, the state government had funding for exclusion fencing. So cut a long story short, we applied for funding, we got it. We put a fence up in 2018, and through 2 mitigating permits, we actually got rid of the kangaroos because they're eating the grass and not allowing us to be able to spell paddocks. So that was the first one, was exclusion fence. The second one was to pull the country that we could on our PMAV. We've left a lot of trees here, and but we did have to pull. And we got 2 dozers in a chain, and we left trees where we thought we should leave trees. But then we took the opportunity when we were stick raking to pasture improved, and we put out a lot of seeds to try a lot of different things. But whenever you put the dozers through and it tills up the soil at all, you might as well put some grass seed. And then the next thing is fencing. We're back to about 16 paddocks now. So we've got smaller paddocks, so that the next secret to all of this is resting. Plants love a trauma, but then they love a spell. And the best example I can give is the Serengeti in Africa. Is a million antelope move across the prairie, manure and urine, and them eating and then kicking it about and then moving on and then spelling it for 6 months. They are the biggest carbon sinks in the world, and all we're doing is trying to mimic that. if we set stock and you leave 50 cattle in a paddock all the time, what effect does that have? And you see it overgrazing and underutilized. You have clumps and bare patches, and you get rid of all your good stuff because the animals favour a certain species. But if you take them out for a certain amount of time, the good stuff comes back. We all know these things. It's just a case of the willingness to shift the animals and maybe have a few extra paddocks. That's the, do I want to do that? And that's something each farmer has to ask themselves. Am I prepared to change what I'm doing to get a benefit? Yeah, we could be growing, 5 times more grass than we were, 6 or 8 years ago. The changes in the landscape are just phenomenal. It's to see paddocks where 50% of the ground cover, there was no ground cover on 50%, and now there's 100% with ground cover. And then to have the mulching effect, and then you go down, it rains and the water is going in rather than running off. 10 years ago, if you had 2 or 3 inches of rain, you'd say, well, I hope it rains next week, because if we don't get follow-up rain, the plants won't grow. Anyhow, fast forward to now, if we get 2 or 3 inches of rain, the conversation is, well, at least we're right for about 6 weeks. It's complete different, and it's only because we've been able to increase the ground cover, which then reduces the evaporation, which increases the moisture available to the plant. And people say, oh, what's your rainfall? But the question is, what's your effective rainfall? So now we've got not 100% ground cover, but nearly. And not only that, we started to get, when you walk across the ground now, it's softer because we've got the cushioning effect of that. But because that's there, more water's going in and creating more air spaces in the soil. And as we get more carbon in the soil, that creates more air spaces, and there's more water going in, there's more air spaces, and the ground is softer to walk on.
An Australian Carbon Credit Unit, or ACCU, represents 1 tonne of carbon dioxide that would have otherwise been released into the atmosphere. ACCUs are issued to individuals like Peter who run eligible soil carbon projects that capture and store carbon in the soil.
Like if something happened tomorrow, if you had a disaster and you said, look, we need 25 or 30 grand, you say, well, look, the carbon ACCUs are up today or this month. Gee, they've never got to that before. If we had to, we'd sell them. And we have roughly 800 ACCUs sitting there, because there's always this background. People say, well, what happens if you lose your soil carbon? They could take all that money and it wouldn't worry me. The benefits that we've got to see that grass there and to see that water stay on the paddock and all of that gives me more joy than this extra bit of money that we've got here. But if that's another benefit of making money, well, I think there's people that are missing out that could otherwise benefit. But yeah, the journey in the first 5 years, we've sequenced a tonne to the acre, and our further journey is we're doing another 500 acres. So we're hooked on the soil carbon projects. Well, since we pulled, there's a 7-year rule, and that's the only reason why the other 500 acres wasn't under the soil carbon to start with. Once you pull, you've got to wait 7 years to do that. So and that's right now. Where in the next 2 months, that second project will eventuate, and in 5 years' time, we'll see what improvements we've made with that.